Okay, Brian, is the Fed cutting rates why mortgage rates are rising? This is from the New York Times, which I don't normally cite the New York Times because they don't write a lot of stuff that we could talk about. But we're going to go ahead and talk about it. Mortgage rates basically jumped because we have the, let's say, uncertainty of who is president kind of out. But this is a projection that there are not as many economic headwinds ahead as everyone thought there might be. So who's wrong? The analysts or the data? What do you think?
Well, I'm going to say the analysts because they could be biased. The data is going to be the data, and it's going to report the numbers. As long as the people reporting that data is accurate, it's fair. I trust the data.
So if you're saying if it's being truthfully measured, man, you're being really veiled in your comments, but I got you. Okay. So mortgage rates tend to track the 10-year yield. If you, I don't know if anybody here was watching the 10-year yield. Just me? Okay,
No,
just me.
I watch it all the time.
I'm sending you guys, I'm sending you guys screenshots and voice notes. Okay, guys, if you watch at the top of the channel here, near the bottom.
But no, it's funny because like if you understand that that's the best way to be able to predict where rates are going to go, I mean, you go look at that thing, it's pretty freaking accurate.
Unless it changes its course and it changes its pattern, rates will decrease coming into the brand new year. In January, February, I mean, let's say 10 to 15 weeks from now, the projection I put on the chart I sent you guys is that mortgage rates will be going down by that time. It will have to completely break trend out of its current trading channel in order to set a new path and, of course, back upwards. So other than that, it's going to have some downward pressure on it in the months to come. So mortgage rates do tend to track the 10-year yield. It's way more technical than I know most of the people that are going to ask us any questions or even care about. But the point here is that it's the anticipation of what's going to come next. It's that, okay, well, if Trump's going to be the president and that's who we're inaugurating in January, then this is what we think economically is going to happen. And the markets in kind of like in lockstep all move that direction.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like right away, everyone was like, oh, boom, instant reaction because they're predicting what they think is coming ahead. And it's not a reflection of what's behind you. It's what do I think is coming up ahead, and that's where I'm wagering my dollar.
And that's why I feel that it's still so uncertain, and that's why I see the 10-year rising because a lot of people would rather, float to safety and know that that's going to be, a secure investment rather than wait and see what's going to happen. But at the same time, until we get some, like I said, some clear data indication of what they're going to be doing actually concrete, then that's when I feel the rate will, the 10-year will start trickling down to match what you were saying. By the time that president takes office, they have a good enough time to be able to roll out whatever they're going to do or, present what they're going to expect to do. And then from there, we're going to start seeing more alleviation in the 10-year, I believe.
Yeah, and I think part of what's happening, and I don't have this verified, it's just a suspicion I have from watching the way things move for so many years, almost 2 decades now, is sometimes people take advantage when the market is hot in their favor. Let me pad my account a little bit. Let me just have a little bit more hedge or some more margin because of the uncertainty that I don't want to admit I feel or Correct. I see. So it's one thing to know, okay, here's who our president's going to be. Here's the policies. What's the likelihood of those policies being adopted? And then going, you know what? Because I don't know all that, I better hold on a little bit longer or onto a little bit more than normal in case it doesn't happen or in case it does happen and it has unintended consequences, because we've seen that too. So I think that's some of that at play. I think some of the market activity as far as rates are concerned are like banks hedging their bet and making their position known that they still don't know exactly how this is going to go. So because you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and take advantage of the market, the rates being higher a little bit, and I'll just take a little bit more for myself and hold on to it.
I think your analysis was straight on.
You can say greedy bank all day long. There's an argument for that as well. But you can also say you got to have, in order to be in lending, you have to have a certain security pad anyways. You have to be able to lend money and all this other rules you have to meet. So you actually better meet the financial litmus test, first of all, the financial stress tests, and then even, pad your coffer a little bit more in case of unforeseen consequences.
So I wrote down right here, cuts versus raising of taxes. And what I feel is that when you cut taxes, you promote more expansion, hiring more jobs, and increase wages or more budget to be able to, allocate towards positive things for the company or whatever. But when you start raising taxes, I feel that it promotes, cutting, firing, can increase wages. So therefore, I feel that, although we don't know what's going to happen, you can already see how if you cut taxes, it promotes more money coming in, which therefore I feel that could be, trickled down to cope with the cost of living, to higher wages, to get more people to have more jobs, maybe expand, open up more businesses, be able to have more expansion. And I feel that is going to be a key thing to be able to fight with inflation. If we know inflation isn't going to go down to zero and we're never going to have it as low as we want it, it's always going to be there because we print money every single time that we could run into an issue, and then that brings inflation, then I feel that people need to be able to at least cope or come close to be able to fill that gap of where inflation is taken away from their pocket every month.
And it's a good point, and it's because I just maybe I haven't shared it this way, but it becomes very subjective very quickly, right? Because what the tax cut means to one person means something different to another.
Oh yeah, you bring up a great point.
And I'm not saying that a tax cut is bad for someone, but it could be bad for someone. Like maybe a tax cut is great for the company, but the tax cut doesn't translate into hiring more people. It means keeping your wage earners stagnant and stable, and then you increase in your inventory. So you spend your money on something else.
Correct. That makes sense.
I'm going to use an example from a long time ago, back when there were lower corporate taxes. I have a friend who owns a shirt printing business, and he used to print for like Walmart.
Right.
So when certain costs of material would go down on the market, they would buy hundreds of thousands of shirts at the blink of an eye because the price of cotton went down today. I'm going to buy 250,000 shirts now. And I'm just going to hold them. They didn't make any new jobs. They didn't hire anybody more. They just said, it's cheaper. I'm going to grab it and hold on to it. And then I'm going to hold on to it for when I do need it. And when I do need it, I will have already bought it for cheaper than it will be in the future.
So you could go ahead and just control the price.
Right. And again, I'm not saying that that's bad or good. Everyone likes a $5 T-shirt from Walmart. But there's a whole different level of business acumen that gets deployed when there's tax cuts. And if you are not in business or you don't own a business and you are a wage earner, you're making salary, you're hourly, then that means something different to you too. Maybe you do make some more money. Yeah. We want that too. That money then becomes subjectively spent and used. Am I going to use this extra money to pay down my debt?
Correct.
Am I going to use this money to save or invest or whatever? Or now I can... But so my point is that once it happens over here on the policy side, it gets to the people side, then it looks like scattershot. It looks a whole bunch of different ways.
And then
you don't see the impact of that till way down the road, and you look in the rearview mirror, you go, okay, well, yeah, let's look at that.
They all just spend their money, huh?
And I'm going to admit too, some of the stuff that people claim about and they raise their voice about is also true too. Like corporate nepotism, there's going to be some of that. People just do that. People give themselves fat pay raises at the top. They're going to do that too. You know what? They're going to do that. I can't say that they're not going to do that. They just do. So, and at the same time, there's people that are going to just be able to benefit from it, and they're not going to ever grow a company, and not ever going to start one, never going to try one, and they just want to have a stable job and feed their kids, and have a home, drive a nice car, enjoy their weekend, enjoy some entertainment or whatever, and that's totally fine too. Yeah. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. We need some more normalcy in that section too.
No, I hear you. That's good.
Okay. Any other thoughts about this?
No.
The difference between the tax cuts and then what it might add to the deficit or cut or take a chunk out of the deficit, I don't know what that's going to mean yet, because there's also revenue offset. And I don't think we're talking about that enough yet, because maybe there's just not enough known. Yeah. Because there's all these claims being made about, cut this. We're going to do tariffs over here. Well, but then the tariffs are going to cause inflation. But no, the tariffs are going to make the other country pay for it. But they're not going to pay for it, but the company's going to pay. There's all these
back and forth. Yeah, I know this will happen. That will happen.
But one of the other things that I think we're going to have to see more of is what new revenue comes back to us that left, and then what things can we do on the energy independence side that reduce our costs here that then infiltrate their way into the pipeline of the economy. Drill, baby, drill. So, for example, and again, you can kind of find articles of this on the internet, like the EU already said they're going to buy LNG from us, liquefied natural gas. Okay, well, great. So if we can sell more of that, then that goes in the profit and loss statement of the country, right? Some more revenue, and then even if there's some more expenses over here, hopefully there'll be some balance and an offset of those things like you would in normal balancing at P&L. I know it's an oversimplification of the thing. Don't come at me. Example. The point is, you and I don't know yet what all the revenue streams coming back to us will be, or the new ones that are going to be created at the same time that there could be offsets of chunking out deficit, et cetera, et cetera.